What is up, everybody? Happy Sunday morning to you. I'm just coffee cheers. So I'm just sitting here doing my morning coffee, doing my random live stream that I never plan. I never plan these. I'll make a decision like, am I going to just film this content or am I just going to go live? If I feel like I have a lot to say about something, it's usually better to go live these days. For me, it saves a lot of space in my phone. Um, yeah. So I was sitting here and I caught on my YouTube feeds a post from the We Woke Now channel, and I am subscribed to We Woke Now. I like to hear diverse perspectives from different, thought tanks and people who can actually demonstrate that they can at least have a conviction to their own thoughts and they're not really super duper on a herd mentality. So, I mean, I follow We Woke Now. And if you're trying to broaden your perspective, I definitely encourage you to follow that channel as well. So they are posting about Candace Owens was suspended because of a banned interview. And I covered this. I was more so being condescending about the whole thing because, I don't like it when good people, get attacked. And I just don't think Candace Owens is a good person. So I don't care, what her recourses are, but I do care that her speech is being infringed upon. I care about a lot of people's speech that are being infringed upon. And if I were not a victim of censorship myself and restrictions and bans, I really wouldn't have a personal experience to put on the table about this, and so I'm not an advocate for Candace Owens at all. I think people make their money and their coins how they do, and she's definitely a grifter to me, a social chameleon, and I've said this before. But at the same time, I'm looking at the fact that, YouTube made a decision to ban Candace Owens after an army of individuals that disagreed with her positions and what she was covering came together, coordinated, and pretty much got her suspended, got her banned. I don't agree with things like that. I'm more of a person, I believe in natural human rights. And for me, natural human rights is that everybody has a right to exist. Everybody has a right to make money. Everybody has a right to property. Everybody has a right not to have somebody else infringe their ideas, their mindsets, or their versions of anything upon them. I think that, realistically, if humans can all just step back and look at the patterns of things, we're all going to make different assessments about how things are looking, right? And we're all going to either agree or disagree, how those things are looking. But at the same time, Candace is saying that she was suspended because of this Kanye interview. And I don't really think that's true. I mean, I think that honestly, Candace has been going back and forth with a segment of people. And these people, do have enough coordination to, disenfranchise other individuals, especially if they're not playing ball with their talking points or their ideas, right? But I think for Candace Owens specifically, I feel like it was much deeper than this interview with Kanye because I'm listening to what they're talking about, right? And again, when natural human rights for me, free speech for me is that we are able to say things that we believe and hold convictions, about without feeling threatened to have those thoughts and convictions. But depending on what those thoughts and convictions are, there is a need to have some level of monitoring, regulation on them, especially depending on who the facilitator is. And this is very important, right? Because when you have a social chameleon, hyper-inflammatory person like Candace Owens, and she's doing an interview with an equally, if not more, sensational individual like Kanye West, and they both have had targeted, conversations about a specific group that they may have felt like disenfranchised them, right? Or some people from that group may have disenfranchised them. It is still Candace and Kanye's and anybody else's who are impacted by these groups to handle conversations about these people or the individuals, with care, right? So when you make blanket conversations about any group of people, it's threatening, right? There is no other way to frame it. That is why so many groups in America outside of the Black community, we got to do better. I'm trying to be one of those champions as well. There's a lot of us out there that are being suppressed, but we're trying to champion to own the Black American narrative so that some of these people can't feel like they can just narrate us and our history any old kind of way. But a lot of groups in America, they are adamant about having control over how other people are projecting them. And that is really to protect the image, the culture, ideas, whatever of their group, right? But sometimes I find that, people these days, especially in the age of social media and especially after Elon bought X, I think that people think that free speech is being able to just concentrate negative rhetoric on one group of people, right? And and not think that something like that is harmful. And I think some of these people are riddling facts, like facts, historical things, in with a broader narrative about people that is pretty dangerous. And I've been saying this since 2020 that, with these extremists, that, Trump has gravitated to his base, some of them, right? And I'm not saying all of the MAGA movement are white supremacists or extremists, but I'm sure they're smart enough to know that Trump did gravitate a lot of those people there, right? And a lot of these people can't stand Black people and they can't stand Jews, right? And consequently, these are the people gravitating to people like Candace and Kanye, the Black white supremacists. And I think people are framing this Candace Owens ban, as an infringement on her speech. But I feel like we got to kind of step back and look at what Candace specializes in, okay? And I think when you kind of look at it that way, right, then you will realize why Candace Owens is not necessarily being attacked, right? This is an attack, right? Because she's been attacking a specific group of people and they're attacking back, right? But this is her own design. Like, she literally is like, I'm going to be a martyr for people who don't care for the Jews, right? And, she's not being very selective in how she's speaking, right? And this is where free speech for me, it definitely has to have limits. When you are thinking that is okay to narrate any group of people, and this has happened to Black people for decades. So for me, I'm very sensitive about it. So I do have to kind of look at some of these arguments from the lens of even people that are beyond me. And I can imagine that maybe there are some individuals, in the Jewish community that don't really rock with, Jewish extremism, right? They don't want to be associated with that, but they still want to be able to be comfortable in their Jewish identity and their faith. So many of them are not Zionists. and I live in a Jewish community. And so I can kind of gauge the characters of different types of Jewish people. And I'm gonna be honest, some of them just don't rock like that. Like, I mean, I don't even know if some of them are I don't know if they're some of them are even practicing. It's just this is what they are because their mom was, right? But they don't hold supremacy. There are a lot of Jews that don't have Jewish supremacy. They are repulsed by that, and even the faith-based Jews, they don't believe in supremacy because they believe in, the ideas of their God, which is he is love, therefore we should be loved. And honestly, when you are practical about it, no human being on this earth is supreme. Nobody on this earth is supreme to another human being. But with free speech, I personally think that a lot of people think that free speech is saying anything that you want without responsibility. I really think that's what a lot of people have narrowed free speech down to, is I can say whatever I want without any responsibility at all. And I think that that is a dangerous way to think about free speech. I think a lot of people have adopted that way of thinking about free speech. And what's happening in America is that, you have these double talking demons talking about we need to unify, save our country. But in the same token, you are spouting divisive rhetoric and supremacy. And I think in modern America, I think it's reasonable for a lot of people to conclude that there's no place in modern America for supremacy of any kind, right? And I think that even if, because I do believe that there is an established order of people that are running the world, like they're running the entire world. Do I believe that those people are comprised of all Jews? Hell no. No. I mean, I just don't. I think that there's a combination of people that are ruling this world and the ruling class elites, and they're beyond Jews. I mean, honestly, I feel like people are just keep pointing fingers or whatever, but I think if people are real about it, there are more people and faces and groups in these elite circles that are wielding influence on populations and societies, and they are beyond Jewish people. I don't know if they're being leveraged by them, but the faces look mad diverse to me, where I can't just pigeonhole the problems of America on one set group of people. Like, it's just illogical for me. All right. Because I see even Jews are being screwed over by this order that supposedly their people are running. Right. Like, somebody explain that to me. If Jews are running the world, how come so many other Jews are being screwed over by them? It doesn't make any sense to me. All right. And so I feel like we need to be very careful when we are talking about people and groups, because there's a whole lot of talking heads that continue to generalize. And, when you are talking about free speech and your freeness to be able to generalize and narrate groups in a negative and demonizing way universally, I don't believe you have free speech. You are a liability to society. You are a divisive force to society, and there's no room for you, right? Be happy I'm not your leader, right? Be happy I'm not your leader. That's why I would never run for president of the United States, right? Because there's certain things that just should not be tolerated. And I think in the service of some of these extremist groups, right, they want to, I'm going to say whatever I want to say, right? You are dividing America. You are a cancer. You are a malignant cancer to American society. You are. You are. So here's the thing. listen to the interview that Candace had with Kanye. And, like I said, I don't believe it was just this interview that got Candace banned. I think she was playing tit for tat. And it was like checkmate. Now go find somewhere else to spread your little rhetoric about us, right? But I didn't hear anything in this interview with between Candace and Kanye that was necessarily triggering, outside of the fact that Kanye was acknowledging that Black people are Semitic people too. And that is the big, I saw Nick Cannon have a complete fall from grace just by saying that he was an Israelite. And in the age of people can be unicorns, you can be whatever you want to be, why is it so threatening for Black Americans to acknowledge that we are Semitic people as well? That beyond Africa, we actually do have a culture, a lineage that is beyond that. Those African tribes believed in something, and they were Semites. And when you think about what a real Semite is, it is somebody who is a descendant of Africa and the Middle East. That is what a Semite is, right? So when Kyrie Irving said, I can't be anti-Semitic, he was absolutely right. And this is threatening rhetoric for some Jews. There are some Jews that can acknowledge it. They can acknowledge it. We become brothers and we talk about this, but there's some of them that have that supremacy. And they are the ones that are threatened by Black men saying we are Semites. And they are the ones that will attack these Black men for acknowledging that Black people are Semites. And this is a threat to some people. The same people that will tell an ugly ass man that he can be a woman. And so the contradictions are kind of real. And so when you're talking about free speech, it is a direct infringement on Black people to attack us for having conversations about our Semitism. It really is. And if that was the premise for why Candace Owens was banned, because she had this conversation with Kanye in which they were talking about Black people being Semitic people, right? And this is why they had to pull the plug on that, right? Then I don't agree with YouTube at all. Shame on you. And it has a lot of racism riddled into it, YouTube. It really does. That is a racist move, period. If that was the reason that Candace, her interview with Kanye was pulled and her YouTube accounts were attacked. Now, according to Candace, right, she was spouting. Now, this is the thing. And now, like I said, we got to go back to Candace Owens for a second, right? Because how she articulates things, right? Because she wants to be a sniper for every ignorant person and every ignorant thought group. And so I've always said that it's not what you say, it's how you say it, right? And so when you're talking about a conversation about Black people being Semitic, no, I don't want to hear from Candace. No, I don't want to hear from Kanye. Because they have an ulterior motive they operate almost like Hebrew Israelites. And I don't rock with Hebrew Israelites because there's a level of supremacy with them, Black supremacy, that is anti-God. They are very well versed in their history and their knowledge base, but their presentation is hateful in many ways. And so when we're talking about Black people being Semitic people, I don't want to hear that conversation facilitated by Semites who have hateful rhetoric, and they have a history of hateful rhetoric. So this is why Candace and Kanye were not the ones to facilitate this particular conversation. Candace jumped on this conversation with Kanye, obviously because she's trying to get into the Black people crowd. And it's like, whoa, I'm going to start talking on the Hebrew Israelite talking points, right? This girl is smart. She's a social chameleon. She knows what she's doing, right? But Candace and Kanye should never, ever, 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 ever be the voices for Black Semitism at all. Ever, ever, right? Because they're ignorant. They're rich, ignorant people that were empowered by the same people that they're talking shit about now. So, it's a catch-22 with this whole free speech thing to me, because again, I kind of look at, some people, they're not credible because they have a track record of just being more hateful in their intent in speaking the speech than they are trying to be informative, right? I talk on topics that press buttons all the time, but I try to season my words with salt. I try to be very meticulous. Sometimes you'll even see me thinking, first of all, I talk off the top of my head, right? If I see a topic, I'm looking at this sentence, this is one sentence, and I'm talking to you guys about it, and we're having a conversation about it. But it's I'm very meticulous about what I say. And the reason why I know that free speech is being attacked is because I've been banned from LinkedIn. I've been restricted. I've had little restrictions across platforms just by saying non-inflammatory, but common sense talking points. Maybe they didn't agree with a narrative that was being perpetuated, right? But I made sure that I expressed my opinion with conviction, but without trying to inflame. So when I say that my pronouns are common sense, and somebody changes their their LinkedIn handle to my pronouns are unicorn her, LinkedIn is saying she can be unicorn her, but you can't be common sense. And because you want to play with this little narrative that we're trying to perpetuate, we're going to restrict your page. So I've been restricted from LinkedIn for over a year now. It hurt my business a lot because I had an organic following. I had 33,000 people following me on LinkedIn, and that is a business hit. When you are talking about a monopoly on business networking, this is the only site that most people go to when they're checking for business professionals. And then this site decides that because we don't like your pronouns, we're going to ban and restrict you. So I am very sensitive about how free speech infringement is playing out. But I don't think that we should be just framing everything as, oh, that was an infringement on free speech. Some of these conservative talking heads, they are spewing hate speech. And actually, if you look in the Constitution, hate speech is covered. But at the same time, how inflamed and divisive in America do we want to be? Right? There's a reason why the KKK is a shadow group, and they only come out when the Democrats bring them out during political cycles, just to sort of be the boogeyman for Black people. Look, they're out there on the streets marching, Black people, and Black people we will beat their asses. It's not playing with them. Foundational Black American freemen, ADOS, Black looking immigrants are afraid of them, right? Black people, Black Americans, we ready to give people like that the business, all the time. I don't get a lot of these narratives. I really don't sometimes. But anyways, the KKK isn't just out there. You don't see KKK flag. People are afraid to be associated with it, even if they are associated with it. It's not something they're wearing on their sleeves. You know why? Because they are a hate group. They are a disease to society, right? And nobody agrees with them. No reasonable person in America agrees with that level of hate. Same way with Black Lives Matter, when they transition from the grassroots into the own Democratic organization and they started spewing that anti-white hate. It's like there was a lot of Black people that did not rock with all of the rhetoric of BLM. We're going to destroy the nuclear family. It's like a lot of, we weren't rocking with that. Right? And I'm sorry, lesbian Black women will never be the voice of Black people, ever. I'm sorry. They will never be the voice of Black people to me, at all, ever. They are a voice for their little segment of Black people, but no, they're not, right? You know, because Black America, we're patriarchal. We're not matriarchal. And I know some of these people want to turn us into that, but we're not. We're a patriarchal culture. We're going to remain a patriarchal culture. And honestly, you know, again, we got to get control over our narrative. We got too many Black ops, Black looking people, you know, and we got to get back to the basics of what made us great. And that's Black men and women working together and not being influenced by, you know, this weird American culture that needs us divided because they're afraid when we are together. That's me exercising my free speech. But let me know what you guys think. You know, free speech, like I said, for me, I believe in natural human rights. I believe that people should be able to believe what they want to believe. I believe that people should be able to say what they believe, right? But I don't believe that people should be inflaming people and cultures, demonizing, narrating other cultures without any type of backlash from society. And I don't believe that one set group should be determining what free speech is in America either. So there, you know, we are a society of people. And if we are a republic, then that means that the public should be really talking about what free speech is. You know what I mean? And a lot of these there's a lot of ops in the United States, right? So you got to really be selective about the people that you choose to represent you. Some of these people are double talking demons, and you got to really understand who they are as a person before you even vote for them. Okay. You know, there's a lot of people. I'm at the point now where if it came down to like some regular Joe Schmo guy that just kind of got it, thought like me, right? And he was on the ticket for president, I would vote for him and say, fuck Trump and Kamala, because they're both establishment people in the machine. They are. They're fooling everybody, both of them. Like the Democrats and the Republicans, like nobody ever thinks that we get down to the same damn people and nobody's questioning that. Everybody's just lemming, okay, which one should we choose? It's like, man, forget these people. Forget these people. Like, you know, they're trash. They are trash. But again, I feel like free speech, you need to be responsible. I think free speech comes with responsibility. And, you know, that responsibility, you know, shouldn't be if somebody says, I don't like trans people, for example, like if somebody says that, right? That's their right. Right. And trans people should be intelligent enough to know, hopefully their meds will allow them to get to that mental state where not everybody's going to like me. Not everybody's going to accept me and this choice that I've made for myself. Right. And they have to be willing to hear somebody say, I don't like trans people, and keep it moving. It's the same way with Black people, right? You're going to hear people say, I don't care for Black people. You can do one or two things. Challenge why. Why don't you care for Black people, right? And then maybe that's an education opportunity, right? Or you can say whatever and keep it moving, right? But it is their right not to like Black people, you know? And it's and they have the freeness of speech to say it. It's the receiver's responsibility to understand what their preference means for them. It means that you're not going to be messing with me, right? How you doing, Marlene? I mean, it is what it is, right? But there has to be some responsibility with free speech. You know what I mean? There has to be responsibility where it's okay for you not to care for, say, Black people, but it is not okay for you to invest money going on a campaign to narrate Black people a certain way. Because now you are using your free speech in an irresponsible way to narrate groups of people and disenfranchise them, right? That's basically what you're doing, And a lot of that is going on. And Candace Owens made her little coins narrating Black people for the very group of people that she's going after now in a negative way. And so I don't think that Candace was suspended because of the Kanye interview. I think that is a scapegoat. I really do think it was a scapegoat, right? I think Candace was suspended because she keep going back and forth with these people who have betrayed her, maybe. I don't know. She's going tit for tat. This is pride in process right now. Pride is before a crash, and my whole thing is when Candace Owens got, separated, let go, whatever, from the Daily Wire, right? She could have took an opportunity. She had an opportunity, a big opportunity. And a lot of people aren't really thinking about this, right? Where she could have been a mature woman, took her audience, which was huge, right? And really started talking about things that they wanted to hear, right? But without sitting up there targeting Jewish people, which she has literally, since she left her Jewish contingency, she has been on this campaign against Jewish people. Specifically, what a freaking waste. What a freaking waste. What a freaking waste. Like, I didn't like it when she was doing it to Black people. I really don't care what she's doing to Jewish people, right? I don't. I really don't, because it's just not fair to them. It's just not fair. What part of that wasn't true? She literally left the Jewish contingency. Okay, you said that they've been after her. When did they start going after Candace Owens? Because let me tell you this. I remember when that Kanye thing went down, right? First of all, the Daily Wire was juicing and geeking all over Candace Owens doing the White Lives Matter thing with Kanye. If you go back, Ben Shapiro, what's the little Italian dude, Matthew Knowles, oh my God, Candace Owens and Kanye do White Lives Matter. They were geeking all over that, right? And then right after, right, Kanye started talking out of the side of his neck, right? And then the next thing you know, right, the Daily Wire, and matter of fact, I believe this interview that she did with Kanye, I really do believe that this interview was done around that White Lives Matter thing, and this is something that she's just now uploading. But she backtracked. She was like, she didn't have Kanye on her show while she was with the Daily Wire. She did not. Right? She did not have Kanye on her show at all. So that shows you how not really independent she was at the Daily Wire, because they wouldn't let her have Kanye on her show. And she didn't have Kanye in her show. This is why we're just now seeing this interview, right? But right after that Daily Wire thing, if it was a matter of her having an issue with this Gaza-Palestine thing, which was really, I think, her trigger, right? That's one thing, but she's been really going full-blown white supremacist talking points about the Jews. For real. But, here's the thing. They were giving Candace what she called herself giving everybody else in society. They were giving her exactly what she called her. She thought that literally that she was invincible. She thought she was invincible. She did. And she's seeing that she's not, because she's pivoting all over the damn place now because she wants to be very specific about targeting this specific group of people. And there's a very good reason why people don't target this specific group of people. It's like, honestly, it's like what Candace is revealing is not new to anybody. I think that's what it is. She's literally regurgitating the same repetitive historical talking points about the Jews. Like, I mean, that's just not new, right? And what she fails to see is the historical outcome of people who have chosen to target them in that type of manner. And to me, it looks retaliation. So it's not like I'm looking at people who are targeting each other. Candace is just playing the victim because she's slick talking, throwing rocks and hiding her hands and making people believe that she's a victim. It's like, no, her word choice, her articulation, her manner in which she is going about going after the Jews is, to me, it's inflammatory. It's inflammatory. She is seeking to inflame, not inform. And I think people need to understand the difference when you are listening to people exercise their free speech. Is this person coming from a place of truly trying to inform me about something that they think I should know? Or are they on a vendetta and they're trying to inflame me, right? Because nothing that Candace is saying, down to the Michael Jackson thing, is new. I mean, honestly, it's like this Diddy stuff. It really is like this Diddy stuff. Nothing that is coming out about Diddy is new. They want to act like it's new for like bloggers and sensationalism, but nothing about what is coming out about Diddy is new. I mean, because the rumor mills, the words from the street, it was there all the time. She is the victim of her freedom of speech. No, she is a victim of her lack of understanding how to articulate her words in a manner that's not inflammatory. She is a victim of her inflammatory speech, right? She's a victim of her truth bombs. She's a victim of her tit for tatting with people that she says is a mafia. And she keep going at them and taunting them. So she's a victim of her pride. I don't feel, hey, here's the thing. There's a difference between being a thought-provoking person and somebody who's trying to slick talk conspiratorial topics into conversation to provoke people thinking about a certain group in a conspiratorial way universally. That's what she provokes. She provokes inflammatory thinking about certain groups of people, right? Because even down to her narration of Black people, I did more times than I never really saw Candace Owens highlighting Black elevation. And there's a lot of it in America. Black people are doing phenomenal things across this nation and got nothing to do with Democrat struggle junkie stuff. Right? We are doctors. We are lawyers. We are making strides. Financial services people. Black people are so much more than what Candace Owens has chose to narrate us in the service of attacking our character and our culture. And she even said she was paid to do that it was encouraged for her to be vicious towards Black people, right? And I'm pretty sure the more vicious she was towards Black people, the more she got them coins from the Daily Wire. So you're talking about somebody who is inspired to provoke thoughts out of viciousness for the coin. She can't be trusted. You know, the devil provokes thought. The devil provokes thought. Matter of fact, I think that of all the beings on earth, Satan is probably the most thought-provoking being on this earth. You know, so everybody can provoke thought. What are you trying to achieve with the thoughts that you are provoking? What are you trying to achieve with the thoughts that you are provoked? back to Africa, Johnny Cash, I've never been to Africa. When you go there, you tell me about it. I'm an American. Okay. So, I mean, again, when you start seeing Candace's people jump in the chat, you'll know how racist America is and who she's gravitating to. And they only co-sign my points when they bring their ignorant feelings onto my chats. Don't do that here. You're going to get embarrassing. You're going to make the person that you love so much look stupid. But anyways, you guys, I don't feel bad for Candace Owens. I do think that, I don't find that interview that she did with Kanye, any of the contents, like I won't say any of it, but, from what I saw, and I didn't look at the whole entire interview, but I think the triggering point in that interview was Kanye talking about Black people being Semites. This was the same trigger that Nick Cannon received. So I gotta believe that maybe that was a portion of it, but we've already gone through this rodeo, Black people and these non-Black people, about Black Semitism. So I just really don't know if that was the premise, or was it just Candace wanted to go back and forth, because she did another post, and this is how I know she's taunting these people. Oh, you can't get rid of me. She's being condescending. She's telling us that I am going tit for tat with these people. And it's not about her being weak or standing down, but it's like, you have this huge audience and you will literally, and you know what you're dealing with, right? But you will sit there and just waste your time doing that, just constantly. It don't make any sense to me. It don't make any sense to me. And again, if she wants to play the Hitler card and start creating all these narratives that attributes everything, that has happened, in America. I think she's on this 9/11 thing right now. If she wants to attribute everything that, happened in America to the Jews, it's like, okay, fine, right? But Barack Obama wasn't a Jew and he screwed up America, right? Biden, he's Catholic, he's screwing up America. So, I mean, it's a lot of non-Jewish faces on the mic screwing up America. So America obviously has more than a, quote, Jewish supremacy problem, because we also have a lot of tokens, apparently of all colors, that are willing to go along with this idea of that supremacy. And Candace Owens was one of them before she got 86 from the Daily Wire. Because look at her last show. She didn't even know that they were going to be separating. She did not know that. She was like, I will see you on the next one. I'll see you guys next week. She thought that they were, that last show was an indication that she didn't know that they were separating. Right? So, I just feel like when you're talking about people who are thought-provoking and they're exercising their free speech, the only thing I challenge people to do is be intelligent enough to understand the intent of that person and the place that they are coming from, right? If you feel like this person has some level of grudge or fallacious intent in mind, I wouldn't necessarily jump on the bandwagon of their thinking. That's all I'm saying. She had an opportunity. Which interview are you talking about? The one with, I feel like Candace did this interview with Kanye right after that White Lives Matter thing, but she could not put it on the Daily Wire. I think this is an interview that she had vaulted. Like, if I'm wrong about that, somebody correct me. I'm open to being corrected. But I believe that Candace did this interview because I was catching a little bit on it. Like, this is, and you can actually look at the We Woke Now channel, and they actually got this interview on there.
And every Black is the Israelite comment, and every Black person is fine with calling ourselves Black and being called Black. But when I bring up the idea that we're Jew because we are from Africa, the Bible is the majority, it's like set in Africa. The then it's challenging. And we talked about on the George Floyd documentary, it's called The Greatest Lie Ever Sold. The idea that Black people are not Jew is the greatest lie that's ever sold, because you don't see the Jewish abortion rate at the same.
So Kanye is going into what some people may feel is controversial topics, right? But when you look at what Candace said, because I was just kind of looking at some of the stuff unfolding on her page, and she did a video saying apparently you can't say, that a group is a satanic cult or something. So there were other things in that interview, and I'll look at the whole entire. Yeah, We Woke Now on YouTube. Yep. And I don't know how, because this is on my phone, so I don't know how to share the link with you. But go to the We Woke Now channel, and they posted this about 8 hours ago. So it is fresh for you, Marlene, to check it out. And they got, let me see if they're doing a whole interview. Yeah, We Woke Now, actually, okay, no. They did a nice portion of this interview between Candace and Kanye on We Woke Now. So, and that's how I caught it. And I wanted to just kind of see what were some of the topics being discussed. And right off the bat, I see that they're talking about Black Semitism, which I know is a trigger point for certain individuals who also claim to be Semites. But Candace said that, there was references to, you can't say satanic cult. So I got to believe that somewhere in that conversation, there were some ad hominem attacks being thrown at the Jewish community or certain segments of the Jews. I don't know. There were certain, I'm not sure at what point, and I'm trying to get the whole interview. If anybody knows where that whole interview between Candace and Kanye is, please link it, because I would like to see the whole thing to kind of examine, what were the real trigger points on this social and factual level, right? Because if you're out there calling folks names, it's just you see some of these podcasters and they want to start talking about Black people and calling us an N-word and all that stuff like that. Obviously that is triggering content, right? You're using inflammatory speech towards a group of people, right? And so I'm wondering if there was more said in that interview that kind of attacked Jews, and that's why it was pulled. I don't know. But I do know that Nick Cannon's whole career was destroyed talking about Black Semitism. And that is notable. That is very, very notable, right? But again, I don't think it was this interview that got Candace 86. I think it was her behaviors, her pride and her behaviors. But y'all let me know what you guys think. I do want to see that interview. So if you have a link to the full interview between Candace Owens and Kanye, I would love to see it. And I would definitely give my opinion about the entire thing. What I'm hearing so far, I don't hear anything super inflammatory towards Jewish people. Excuse me. Y'all know I got that little thing in our house, but I will say that to some Jewish people, this particular topic is very triggering. And they, and I don't know why it's so triggering for people, because if you just look at history, Semites have always come from Africa and the Middle East. They're not Europeans. They're not Eurasians. Semites come from, when you're talking about ethnic Semites, not religious people who, convert to a Semitic religion, but they are from Africa and Middle East. That's just not something that's threatening for anybody, because it's just human fact. It's fact. And if facts are threatening, then we have a bigger problem in America. And I think that's really what it is. Facts are very threatening. But again, it's how you deliver these facts the context in which you're delivering the facts, the intent in which you are delivering these facts. Candace Owens has ill intent. She is not being informative to people. She's being inflammatory. She's been inflammatory. She's done it with Black people. Now she's doing it with Jews. She better be glad Black people don't rock like that, where we don't coordinate to take her ass out like some people do. Right? Better be glad. You talk a lot of shit about Black people, but we didn't coordinate on your ass. Remember that, Candace Owens. We didn't coordinate on your ass. We didn't take your ass out. All that shit that you were talking about us, we weren't the ones that did it to you, honey. Right? We weren't the one that gave you your wake-up call. Never forget. Never forget. But anyways, thank you so much for those who have checked in, tuned in. I appreciate you. I don't support inflammatory rhetoric. I believe in free speech. But I do believe that there are certain speech that are harmful and hateful, and they have no place in American society, period. I don't care like what your belief systems are about yourself. I don't care if you run around thinking that you are a god, right? You don't have the right in America to go on campaigns belittling other groups, narrating other groups with a very hateful intent. And that's just the bottom line. And no matter, and like I said, there are a lot of points that Candace always bring out that I agree with. Like, she says a lot of truthful things, but the intent behind what she's doing matters, right? Like, I can't take people like Candace Owens, Andrew Tate, any of these evil double talking demons that will take truthful points and spout them. I don't take them seriously at all. And neither should you. But I can't tell you what to do. I'm just raising consciousness on how to weed out some of these thought demons, right? Because they will have you inflamed about a whole group of people, thinking about a whole group of people in a very generalized way. And that's just not helpful to having a unified America. It's just not. It isn't. I don't care what group you are talking about. It's just not useful, right? And again, intent. When I was in school, I remember it was just this, how professors spew off a lot of stuff, but I hated most of my professors because they were dumb. But every now and then I got this really smart professor that was just really profound. And he's like, always believe in time, place, and manner. Always believe in, how did she try to leave it alone? I mean, I think that Candace Owens saw the clicks and the engagements that she was getting from that Rabbi Shmuley guy. And she's like, oh yeah, I'm going to do something with Shmuley at post Daily Wire. I almost feel like that's that Piers Morgan exchange between Candace Owens and Rabbi Shmuley. I don't know. It was kind of like Rabbi Shmuley was just sitting there, just taking it from her, right? He really wasn't like saying a lot. He was literally just letting her give it to him. I don't know. That could be a sexual fetish of his. I don't know. Some people get off. Have you ever heard of fiendom? Right? I have a friend, she's sweet as hell, but she's into some kink stuff. And she does fiendom. And I guess fiendom is like these guys, they have a fetish for women talking just cash shit and belittling them. And so maybe that guy's into that, because I don't understand how those two people particularly got into a second interview. And she also mentioned that Shmuley interview was part of the reasons why she was banned from YouTube. Which, again, I don't understand why that would happen again. I don't understand it. Who coordinated Candace Owens and that rabbi actually having another conversation? It just seems so psyopic to me how she got there with that rabbi again. So again, it's about intent. It's about intent. Like, she is very calculated in what she is doing. And she is in it to shame Jewish people. She did that second interview with Shmuley because she wanted another platform to shame people like him. I mean, think about it. Like, after that first interview and that exchange between both of those rabbis, I went and had nothing to do with either one. How are they messing with her when she's making an executive decision to keep engaging with them, keep making money off of interviews with them? Right? I don't like, to me, I'm not about to sit there and deal with somebody that I feel like is messing with me on a pub. Like, we just don't, what was accomplished? I don't understand it. She wants people on her side. What is her side? Like, what is the goal here? What is Candace's side? Like, what is her side? What is the details of Candace's side? I don't know, but let me go get my neti pot because this congestion is killing me. But I respect everybody's opinion, and I get it. You support Candace Owens, and you have your reason. I think she's an inflammatory person. I think she skews the truth with ill intent. And I think that she's only going to be a more danger to herself doing that than anything else. And I don't necessarily think that Candace is a victim of, I think partly she's a victim of censorship, but I think another part is that she's a victim of her own design. She's a victim of her own pride. And you know what the Bible says? Pride is before a crash. And I just see her as crashing. I just really see her as crashing. But they're making money off her name. I mean, she kind of put herself in that position for that to happen, right? Anyways, you guys have a wonderful day. Bye.